How's it going, everybody? Hope everyone is doing well. My name is Jason, and in today's video, we're going to be previewing and predicting Week 11 of the 2023 CFL season. Should be an interesting week, but before we get into it, I wanted to make a quick announcement. Tomorrow, I will be doing a pregame show with Reed Johnson over on the Markcast, where we'll be having Dave Naylor, a TSN Football Insider, on the show to discuss everything from around the league. So be sure to join us for that. It's at 4 p.m. Eastern and 1 p.m. Pacific. It will post later on if you guys missed that as well. So be sure to keep your eye out for that over on Reed's channel. And with that said, let's get started with the preview. So when you look at the games this week, they don't look too great on paper, but I do think a couple of these ones have some intrigue to it. Starting with Thursday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern, we have the 0-9 Edmonton Elks visiting the 3-5 Hamilton Tiger Cats. Edmonton still looking for that first win of the season, and it's worth noting that they got their first win of the season last year at Hamilton, where Trey Ford won in his first career CFL start, and he's my player to watch for Edmonton in this one. He brought new life to Edmonton's offense last week. You could tell that running ability really opened up the running game even for the running backs in that offense. You look at Kevin Brown, he had that big touchdown run on the first play from scrimmage in that game against Winnipeg. So excited to see how the offense continues to evolve in his second start this season. And I think that Ford being out there gives the Elks a fighting chance on offense, even if he can't do everything they want to from a passing game perspective. Maybe they're a little bit limited in terms of that, but I think the running ability alone is enough to justify his presence in starting in this offense. And then for Hamilton, my player to watch is wide receiver Tim White, who's had a quiet season after having one of the true breakout seasons in the CFL last year. Really established himself as a true number one receiver last year. But he just has kind of went invisible a lot of the time this year, and I'm expecting him to have a big game in this one, help Taylor Powell out, who will be making his third career start in this one. So two very inexperienced quarterbacks taking the field in this one. Should be interesting to see how it ultimately plays out. And in terms of my prediction for this one, I kind of went back and forth because, like I said, Edmonton won last year at Hamilton. But when I considered that, I think that there was some fluke circumstances. Dane Evans had a late fumble in that one that I don't think is all that likely to happen again in this one. I think that Hamilton, coming off a bye week, will be a little bit more prepared this year, and I'm going to take them to win 24-20. I took Edmonton to win in the earlier game this year between these two teams, but ultimately Hamilton was able to kind of win in blowout fashion. So excited to see how this one plays out, but ultimately I'm going with Hamilton. Next up, Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern, we have the 7-2 Winnipeg Blue Bombers visiting the 3-6 Calgary Stampeders in a game that a year ago would have looked like a very marquee matchup in the CFL, but the current state of the Stampeders takes a lot of juice out of this matchup. The players that I'm watching in this one: wide receiver Dalton Schoen for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers had a huge second half last week against the Edmonton Elks that, I was saying on the recap show this week with the guys, I was saying that, the playmakers for Winnipeg were just like, we're not going to let us lose this game. And I thought that Schoen was a big part of that. So excited to see what he brings to the table. Always seems to do something spectacular every week. And so I'm excited to see what happens in this one with Winnipeg's playmakers, including Schoen. And then for Calgary, I'm going with defensive lineman Mike Rose. Look, this team needs some, star power. Somebody to step up and say, enough is enough. Start making some truly impact plays. And I think that Mike Rose is the best player that they have on the defensive side of the ball. And I think that if he can get some pressure against that Winnipeg offensive line that obviously has had so much experience over the years, I think that would be go a long way in terms of helping them win this game. So interested to see what happens in this one. But ultimately, I think that Winnipeg, regardless if Zach Collaros plays or not, it looks like he's probably not going to play. He's not practicing right now. Drew Brown taking the first team reps. So I think that even with Drew Brown starting, I do like Winnipeg to win in pretty convincing fashion in this one. I'm going to predict them to win 34-21 at Calgary. Calgary just hasn't played very well at home or on the road this year, and especially against the good teams in the CFL, I'm going to take Winnipeg to win this one. Now moving on to the third matchup of the week, to a game that I actually will be attending in Ottawa this weekend between the 5-3 Montreal Alouettes and the 3-5 Ottawa Redblacks. Very excited to be in attendance. My first time being at the Ottawa Redblacks TD Place. So excited to see the stadium and this game play out in this one. And the players that I'm watching in this one for both sides are actually defensive players. For Montreal, defensive lineman Sean Lemon, who's made an instant impact after signing mid-season here. Obviously was the West Division MOP last year. Not MOP, Defensive Player of the Year last year. So I think that he's really showing that form that he did last year already in Montreal, and it's kind of been a missing piece to that defense and has provided that elite pass rusher that they needed. And I'm excited to see if he can continue that strong start in this one. And then for Ottawa, I'm going with middle linebacker Javon Santos-Knox, who's been an impactful player since he's been back in the lineup. Missed the first handful of weeks of the season, but I think since he's been back in the lineup, he's been an effective player for them in the middle of the defense. Gives them a presence, gives them a little bit more of a heavy guy that can provide some heavy hitting and everything like that. So excited to see how these defensive players play in this one. I think this is the most interesting game that we have on the slate this week. I think it can go either way. I think Montreal's been playing very well lately, but I just have a feeling that Ottawa will sneak this one out. I'm going to take them to win 30-27. I think that, Ottawa's defense has struggled the last several weeks, but I think that, Ottawa's offense has actually shown a lot of promise, especially last week against Toronto, against a good defense. So I think this could be a shootout here, and I'm going to take Ottawa to win 30-27. And now closing us out with our Week 11 finale on Sunday night at 7 p.m. Eastern, we have the 7-2 BC Lions visiting the 4-5 Saskatchewan Roughriders. Very lopsided game on paper, especially with the quarterback situation in Saskatchewan being in flux, and I think that BC is coming off that huge win against Calgary. They're going to have a lot of confidence. The players that I'm watching in this one, wide receiver Keon Hatcher for the BC Lions, kind of gets forgotten about amongst all those great receivers that they have in BC. There's not really a true alpha. I think a lot of these guys could be number one receivers on other teams, but because they're all on the same team, it's hard to classify one as their true number one receiver. But Hatcher is as good as any of them. I think that he's shown a lot of after-the-catch ability in his CFL career so far and has been an explosive player as well. So he had about 170 yards last week against Calgary. So excited to see if he follows that up with another big performance in this one. And then for Saskatchewan, I think if they're going to have any shot in this one, their offensive line has to give their quarterback some protection and also give a push up front for that running game. And I think that if they can do that, maybe they have a snowball's chance of competing in this game against a very good BC team. But ultimately, in terms of my prediction for this game, I'm going to go with the BC Lions to win in pretty convincing fashion, 35-16 on the road in Saskatchewan. I just think they're the more complete team right now. Saskatchewan's not playing very good football right now, so I'm going to take the BC Lions to win this one and go to 8-2. So that is just your preview for Week 11 of the 2023 CFL season. Be sure to let me know your picks as always down below. And with that said, hope you guys have a good weekend, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.